welcome to Write with Alex. Today I'm going to talk about how to learn the craft of writing. And there are so many sources out there, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can know which ones to choose and which ones will work best for you where you are at right now. So let's get started. Most people who give advice about writing tell you how you should do the craft. And I'm not here to compete with those people. There are people out there who have 20 years of experience being a published writer and a writing coach and teacher and editor, and I do not. But what I am really good at is encouraging people to find time to write and to write for themselves and to write because it's fun, and also to give people time and space to actually practice what you learn about the craft and not only just read about it, but to incorporate it into your own writing. And that is why this video today is also giving you the tools to find the sources that you need and that work for you. Because this is going to be different for everyone and it's going to shift depending on how long you have been writing. And the sources that I'm going to talk about today, this is from a lot of experience, having read and listened to and just found different kinds of sources, and both things that I've used for my own writing, but also in my work as a writing teacher, the sources that I use. And I'm going to give you some of the recommendations for my favorite ones, and nothing today is sponsored. This is just what I genuinely think is best. So yeah, we're just gonna go right into it. So an important thing to keep in mind when you start looking for sources and how to learn the craft is, and I've said this before, but know who to listen to. So, and also know when in the process you want to seek out advice. So you don't have to know everything to be able to start writing. You should just start. If you haven't written before and you're like, oh, I need to learn all of these different things first, you don't. You just need to sit down and write. That is more important. And also to get this kind of help while you're not in the process maybe of writing a new draft, or doing it in a way that is helping you and giving you more energy rather than like kind of trying to, so you don't feel more pressure from it, because that feeling a lot of pressure will never help you write. It's not going to help you write good things, and it's not going to help you have fun. And I think that is the most important thing. So one thing is to choose the sources that works for you now and what you need to learn and what is available to you. But also, when you look around for advice and you see the same thing over and over again, then there's probably something to it. But other than that, just choose the advice that speaks to you, that you understand, that you think is helpful, and that will be different for everyone. And my favorite sources will probably not be all of your favorite sources, and that's okay. So just keep an open mind, try different things, and also don't worry if you don't understand something. Then there are some models of outlining or some things people describe can be really complicated or can work on a different level of abstraction than your brain works on, and that's also okay. And also look for advice that fits your writing style. So if you're one who plans a lot before you write, then try to find an outlining model that fits together with planning a lot. And if you don't like planning, then find one that has less planning, that gives you more freedom while you're writing the book. So just listen to yourself. I found that there are 4 different types of sources when it comes to learning the craft of writing. And these are writing courses, books, blogs, articles, and online schools, and podcasts and YouTubes. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about each of these sources and what is good and bad about them, and also give you some advice on which ones I like the most. So the most obvious place to start if you want to learn how to write a book is a writing course. And you can do this locally where you live, or you can do it online. And this is really good for beginners because it's a very structured way to learn, and it goes through the most important topics. And it also gives you both information about how to write, but also gives you time to practice it. the best thing about writing courses is that you meet other writers, so you can make friends who also write and find critique partners and just feel like you are part of a community and not alone. And I think that's really nice thing about writing courses. But the bad things about it is that one, it usually costs money, and some can be really expensive. And also, if you are a more advanced writer, it's harder to find a course that suits your needs. A lot of courses are focused on the beginner part, and when you're more advanced, it varies what you need to learn, so it's harder to find a course that covers what you specifically want to learn. But there are courses for that as well. You just need to be better at finding the ones that will suit you. But yes, courses is a really good way to learn how to write. So I don't have a recommendation for a course because I have only done mine locally. So I haven't gone to an online course, so I wouldn't know which ones are good or not. I've seen some that looks good, but I haven't tried them, so I wouldn't recommend them to you. But you can just Google to find different ones and go for the feeling of it. Like, do you like the way the teacher is talking about writing? Do you like the way the course is structured? Is that something that will be helpful to you? So, but if you can afford it and this is sort of writing, like a teaching style that works for you, I highly recommend doing a writing course. The second type of source is books, and this is a source that is usually very comprehensive and it covers a lot of different topics, but it also puts them together and creates a picture of the whole process and how they work together. And I think that's what makes books a really good source, especially if you find one that is one of the good ones. And there are also, there are books that are more about writing like the whole process, and then there are lots of books of really specific parts. So that also depends on what you're looking for. But if you are a beginner, then going for one that covers a lot of different parts of writing is a good choice. And if you're looking for something specific and you find a book about that, then it's great. Books are also good because if you have access to a library, hopefully you can borrow some of these for free. And even if you don't, buying a book is usually a lot less expensive than going to a writing course. And there's one book that I have found that I think is leagues ahead of all of the other books I've ever read about writing, and that is called Story Engineering by Larry Brooks. I think that he covers all the different parts about writing, and he's really good at connecting them to each other, and he's also really good at using metaphors and analogies to describe the writing process in a way that I really agree with how he talks about this. And I also think that he is very clear about what he is instructing about. So his book is for people who want to publish their book, and there are certain rules and things you have to follow to be able to publish a book, traditionally especially. And he is like, and this is what you have to do. And I agree with that. And I kind of like the fact that he puts a light on the fact that this is a choice. So you can write without the intention to publish. And this is something that I think a lot of people miss. But writing in itself is really good and important, and everyone who wants to write should do it, and you don't have to write to publish. But if you do want to publish, then his book is really good to learn how to do that. And it's good for everyone. The second book I recommend is called Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. And this is an adaptation of a book just called Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. And Snyder's book is about TV manuscripts. Brody has adapted this to be about novels and how novels work. And this is a really good book that talks about outlining and plot and also themes and different genres. And this is in also one way about everything, because everything is tied to plot and outline. And I think it describes it in a really good way. But if you read this, or if you look at that model and you feel like it's a bit too detailed, or if you don't understand all the parts, don't worry about it. You can find an outlining model that is simpler, or you just take the that resonates with you and that you feel help you moving forward with your manuscript. The third source is articles, blogs, and online schools. And these cover a really wide range of topics, and they can be really niche, which is great if you are looking for something specific, but it's not great for beginners because it's usually not structured in a way that you go one thing and then another and they are connected with each other. They're usually more isolated parts. But this is great if you want to learn something specific, and it's also nice because it's very easy to reference because you can just save the articles and then come back to them later. So I found that this source usually comes in two different types, and one of them is online schools and another is author blogs. And online schools is just a term that I made up that I think describes this, and that is web pages that have it's one web page with a lot of different content about writing and teaching writing, and there might be different authors writing these blog posts or articles, but they keep the same kind of tone and quality throughout the whole web page. And these are really good because they cover a lot of different topics in the same place, and they're usually really easy to search, which is great for reference. And also their quality is consistent, so if you find one that you like, you can just go back to that and look for different topics if you in the future want to reference something else. And for this, there are both free and paid options. I usually go for the free ones, and my favorite is called W, and they have a lot of different topics, and I really like the way they approach writing and how they describe writing advice. And the second one is called Masterclass. And if you just go to their webpage and look at their writing material, it is behind a paywall. But if you Google a subject and there's a link to a masterclass, they usually have an article for free about it. So I would do this if you are Googling for a specific thing that you want to learn and you find a source from masterclass. I recommend going to that and reading that. The second one is author blogs, and I usually find this when I do a search for a specific thing I want to learn. And the thing I don't like about this is that the quality between different kinds of author blogs is really varied. And when you go to one author's page, it's usually really hard to search within that page for different topics. But if you find an author that you like and you like how they are talking about writing, then that is a really good source as well. So the fourth source is something that you are taking part of right now, and that is podcasts and YouTube. And these are really good because you can do them while doing something else. And they're also really good for auditory or visual learners. These include a wide range of topics, including really niche ones. And they also talk a little bit more about the writing practice itself than I've found that other sources do. Another good thing about this is that they are usually for free. And the bad things about these sources is that they're difficult to reference. It's easier to go back to a text and just skim through it than skim through a video or a podcast. And also, there's a lot of them have so many episodes that it's difficult to know where to go and which order to do it. And some have, maybe like 10 videos or 10 episodes that are connected to each other to be like a class. But sometimes they don't, and you have to yourself figure out which videos you want to watch or listen to and in what order. So it doesn't have to be the best way to learn the craft if you're a beginner. But if this is the material and the input that is most available to you, then it's a really good one as well. My favorite podcast is called Fiction Writing Made Easy by Savannah Gilbo. And I love this one because she knows what she's talking about. She has really information-packed episodes, but they're not too long. And she also has a really kind and encouraging way of helping people write. And I just really like her approach to writing and her coaching style. And there are so many more podcasts out there. So if you don't like hers, then try it somewhere else. You can just Google writing podcasts and you can find tons of them. And for YouTube, when I look for writing advice, especially to use for my teaching, I prefer to have it written down so I can go back and reference it. So I don't have any YouTubers that I will recommend to you about this, but there are lots of them out there, and there's a lot of famous authors who are doing YouTube and talking about writing. And just, search for whatever it is you want to learn and look through some videos and just go with the ones that resonate with you and the ones that talk about writing in a way that you like. So that was all of the 4 different sources of material, how to learn the craft. But before we wrap up, I also wanted to talk about something that is as important, and that is what to do when you have found and read these sources. And that is that it's not enough to just read something, you also have to practice it to get better at it. And I think that the best way to do this is to practice in a sandbox environment with no stakes writing. So to practice something specific and doing that in a text that is not supposed to be an end product. So maybe it's not part of the book that you are writing, or maybe you use the characters, but you write a scene that you know is not going to be included. So you can just try things out and try different language and different techniques, because I think that's how you learn it, because it's usually hard to keep all of this in mind while you are writing. So just practicing it first, and then it will come more naturally when you are writing. And that is also why I started this YouTube, because I think that there aren't enough people doing this. There's not a lot of places you can go to for free where you get both advice, but then also time to practice it, and exercises that are tailored to that specific thing. And this is what I love to do. And I think having people write is so important, because it's such a human thing to do, to write. And if I can encourage someone else to start writing, or help someone practice their craft and maybe make writing more fun, then I have reached my mission. So that was all for today. Take some time to look through these different types of sources and see what would work for you. And if you at a later point need to learn something new, go back to this video and see if there's a different type of source you need for that thing, because it can change. And also, just good luck on learning the craft of writing. And thank you for joining me. Take care and happy writing.